Now, big auction today, property, heard about it in the news. Carol Tallon joins us from Buyer Brokers Limited, and she's on the line. She's author of Irish Property Buyer's Handbook, and she's there. Carol, set the scene for us.
Good morning, Declan. It is absolutely crazy. The last day I spoke to you live from this auction, I was talking about the noise, and what I can say to you is that we now have probably the same number of people, or maybe a little more. So I would imagine there's between 2,000 and 2,500 in the room at the moment, but we're in a much smaller space. So it is actually similar to a rock concert here today as opposed to a property auction. So it's feeling very much like the first frenzied auction that we saw in April 2011.
But they could be journey people who've now, they see property and these property auctions as a bit of entertainment. So they're not really there for the biz, they're there to observe.
Oh, this is definitely a spectator sport. Auctions in Ireland have always been that, and I'm quite sure there's a few. But what I'm seeing at the moment are people that are scrambling actually to get the deeper documents, and people who are scrambling to try to get bidding numbers. In fact, what we're seeing is a lot of we're seeing a lot of non-Irish accents, so particularly a lot of vintage accents in the room today, and they're not used to the Irish system where we don't actually get numbers to bid. It's a case of jump up and down and make sure the auctioneer sees you through the crowd. They're genuinely not familiar with this, so there's quite a bit of confusion going on here today. This is definitely probably the least smooth auction that we've seen here so far.
Right, and what's on offer?
Okay, a couple of interesting properties, and actually that's probably what's drawing the crowd today as well. We have 127 lots, which is the most lots that have been offered at any auction so far, and they're actually a really good mix. There's properties starting here from about 15,000, and there's a lot of lower value properties, which means where you have investors who haven't been able to raise mortgages, if they can put together a purchase fund of maybe 30,000, 40,000, they will be able to get themselves a performing asset. They will be able to buy themselves an apartment that's actually yielding money at the end of every month. Now that's unusual, and in a climate where money in the bank is not seen as too safe, people are going to be quite happy to put 20, 30, 40,000 into an apartment on the basis of achieving any sort of return. And some interesting properties, and probably the one that's going to be most fought over is lot number 1, Alma Court, coming up. It's a property in Dublin 6 in Ranelagh, 3-bed standard. We don't normally see this type of property at this auction. It's got a guide price of 190,000, but to be fair, the market value is probably close to 300,000. So it'll be interesting to see how that performs on the day. The only lot in Wicklow is actually a repeat lot. You might recall the last day we spoke, I told you about 2 derelict cottages in Shelbourne.
Yes.
There was some excitement in the auction room the last time because the local authority there in Wicklow actually said that they had served an enforcement notice for non-compliance with planning. So that property failed to sell at the last auction. So it'll be interesting to see if it sells now. But it's 2 derelict cottages in Shelbourne on half an acre, and the guide price is 15,000 for the 2 derelict cottages. So certainly it's going to be a very good test of the Wicklow market and in that area.
Yeah, 15,000. What are you really buying there? Do you have to maintain the places, rebuild them, or can you just get rid of them all and build on the land if you want to?
In my opinion, you get a site with planning permission, but what I wouldn't certainly try to even hazard a guess is what kind of litigation fees you'd be buying into there, because we know that there's non-compliance, we know that their enforcement notice has been served, and we know that the future buyers will be subject to that notice. So actually, this is definitely one that an impulse buyer or an impulse bidder should not even consider. This is one where the titles must have been checked before you could even consider bidding, and certainly no bank, so no mortgage lender would consider this. So really you're talking about local family there who will be in a position to secure planning permission to be able to maybe build a family home. It would be an ideal site for that and very affordable.
All right, so what do you expect out of this today? How do you think you'll be looking back on it?
I think that the overall figures will be down. I mean, we're used to seeing this type of auction make between 10 and 15 million. I don't know, because it's 127 lots, it will make close to that, but actually I don't expect that the reserve prices will be exceeded by as much as usual, because to be honest, there's some lower quality properties here today, and there's a lot from the lower end of the scale. So I'm not expecting huge rises. I'm not expecting any phenomenal buys, but I think that what we're seeing are the property investors who've been sitting on the sidelines for a couple of years. I think they're the people people who are inching their way back into the market.
Okay, one final question. Any repossessions here?
Actually, I would say the last few auctions, Allsop Estates had actually argued that they weren't all repossessed, they weren't all distressed property auctions, but actually what we're seeing is a lot more repossessed and distressed properties at these auctions now. So where they may have fallen down to levels of 50%, I would hazard a guess to say somewhere between 50 and 70% of today's lot actually are. Now, they would not be repossessed family homes. What they would actually likely be would be part of portfolios that were bought up as investments by investors who perhaps had planned to develop. So a lot of these would have been speculative purchases.
Right, okay, well, we'll let you get back to it there, mingling with the 2,500 people or so at the Allsop auction. So the best of luck to you, Carol. We'll follow the progress all day. Thank you. That's Carol Tallon there from Buyer Brokers Limited and author of the Irish Property Buyers Handbook 2012-2013. She's at this big auction today. And just one property in Wicklow, this 15 grand for 2 derelict cottages in Shelbourne. But she says, beware, you don't know what planning implications there are.